So last month, I was outside texting a fellow producer of mine, a friend if you would say, and I just so happened to get a notification on my phone. To my delight, it piqued my interest because I felt like it was directly talking to me and something I was actually talking about a previous week before. A hybrid workstation? I heard that before, but let me check it out. Enter the SSL BIG SIX. Is it truly hybrid, or is it just another marketing ploy from another big name company? Hey everybody, welcome to the video. It's your boy Touchtone DSG. So the SSL BIG SIX, it's quite a interesting piece to say the least. Who is it exactly for? Well, I hope to answer that question plus many more in this video. Disclaimer, this is not a sponsored video. I did buy this with my own money, like I always do. Secondly, you should know that I own quite a bit of SSL gear. The UF8, the UC1, and the Fusion. Now, I hope to pair all of my hardware with this, and that's exactly what I've done. That was my hopes the whole time. So in the beginning, when I said I was talking about an interface that can do that, let me tell you where I was coming from. I previously had the Universal Audio, the Firewire Silverface 8 in, 8 out. That interface is going on about 10 years old, 11 years old, and you can hear it. So the converters are kind of, they're okay. They're not horrible, they're doable. The preamps in them are not that good also. The Unison technology is still pretty whatever with them, even though Universal Audio hasn't updated their chips ever, I don't think. So when I would go to mix certain things, as I upgraded my monitors, my studio monitors, and everything else and started to use hardware, I started noticing limitations. So that led me to go to look for something else that had higher converters and whatnot. This piece popped up on my phone. It was a Google ad and it popped up. And I immediately called my rep and was like, yo, what's going on with this piece? And we talked and I decided to get it. Well, was it a mistake or was it not? I don't think so. And here's why. So first of all, the converters on this thing sound great. It's better than what I came from the UAD. It is USB-C, which I really do like. I haven't encountered any latency yet. Not to say that I won't, but so far I have not. My Frontier monitors sound like I've never heard them before, just being honest with you. And the staging from this guy is super wide and deep. If I had to describe what I came from to what I currently have now, the UAD reminds me of like a little smaller box with a lid on it, and you had to mix within that lid. Well, this is still a box, but it's a much bigger box. It's a much deeper box also, and the lid is completely off. The thing that I've noticed with this, and this is probably going to be a theme throughout this whole video, the headroom. Jesus Christ. This thing has so much headroom. I'm very excited about that, and I'll show you an example later in the video on that. Another great thing that I like about this is also the routing. The routing is pretty simple. I would say read the manual as they told me in school, RTFM. Read the manual because you really need to. I've read the manual at least 3 times, and each time I understand more about it. I'm not like a super scientist whiz when it comes to this, but I know my stuff on most of it. I learn something new every time that I do read the manual. Now, another cool thing that I really like about this, which takes this to God mode, as I would say, is what you pair it with. Now, the BIG SIX has these inputs in the back. It has a lot of inputs. If I'm not mistaken, it's 18 in, 18 out. What's pretty cool about this is that the first 4 channels, they also have an insert channel, which means you can bring in hardware. It has that on the first 4 channels. The stereo channels, it does not have that on, but it does have that on the main bus channel also. So what I did is I have the Flock audio, the patch LT, and that takes this to a completely different mode. And I'll show you why here on the screen. So as I'm going through it, the first 4 channels, I've set up a default preset for this guy. And it's pretty cool because I'm just mirroring the Big Six as we know it. Channels 5 and 6, I'm waiting for some extension cables to come in, then I'll hook those up. But basically, as you see here, on channels 1 through 4, I can put like the SSL Fusion in here, the G-Comp, the Manly. But the thing is it's not stuck on those channels completely. I can interchange them at any given time that I want to, or I can stack them. So I can go ahead and stack the Fusion along with the Manly and have that go through channels 1 and 2. One side note I will say is that channels 1 through 4 are mono. So if you did want to get a stereo, you will have to kind of go old school console to where you double up the tracks here and then pan left and right. And then if you have a piece of gear that is stereo, then you can hit it with that. But I digress because I don't know, I'm used to doing that. I worked on a console for so long also. So another thing that takes this to a completely different level is the Big Six paired with the UF8 and the UC1 is killer for me, especially the UC1. This is the full parametric EQs going on here. So with the Big Six, this is a 3-band EQ and they are fixed points. So it is a broad stroke 3-band EQ with high and low shelving on it. The fixed points go as low as 60 and as high as 3.5. So those are fixed spots and those are very doable with most instruments. But if you wanted to be more detailed, all you would have to do is throw the UC1 on there. In my opinion, for $3,000, you shouldn't have to, but that would run up the price. And I'll talk about that more later because the price point, I hear a lot of people griping about it. I've watched a lot of videos about people griping about it. And for what you're getting, I kind of think it's underpriced. And I'll tell you why here in a second. Secondly, this paired with the UF8. So these are not motorized faders, which once again would drive up the price. So I definitely understand it. These are not motorized faders. So therefore, if you need to have a recall on a session, this is going to force you to do one or two things. Either while you're making the session or mixing it, you will have to commit and get it done. So it will force you to get stuff done unless, like, if you're doing multiple sessions and you have a session after this, you're definitely gonna have to commit after that. But if it's something that you're gonna be working on for a couple days, just don't touch the settings and you should be fine. If it's a track you made like a couple weeks back and you wanna go back and play with it and you've like done other things after that, recall might be a nightmare. So I've noticed the UF8 can save you on some things, not all things. So first of all, it can save you like on the volumes of the track to where you can match the volumes and whatnot with the track. It takes a little bit of work, but that's kind of the trade-off here. As far as the EQs go, kind of shit out of luck on that one. What this puts you in the mind of is that it's an analog board. Now I will say, since having this, I've been using the UF8 a lot more. I can really start to appreciate for the DAW controller, it really is, and what it's supposed to do. It's fantastic. But those two guys paired with this, paired with the Flock, game changer, game changer. Another point I want to hit on is the sound quality. It's phenomenal. There's enough said with that. I'll be demoing this later in the video. Preferably you're listening on some really good headphones or some good monitors, but this thing sounds really good from where I'm coming from. Now, I will say if you have a newer interface with newer monitors and newer preamps, it might not be as big as a jump as it was for me as it will be for you. So that's something to keep in mind also. What are you coming from? So as I was saying earlier in the video, the price point I think is pretty good because of the modules that you're getting. Now, if you were to, let's say, build a 500 series of these modules with the SSL, you're gonna be more than double the price of this unit as if you started to build a 500 series with these modules in there. It's kind of a no-brainer when you compare the two. If you want, go ahead and check that out and you can just cross compare with it. This does have the G compressor also. I do have an outboard piece of gear that does the same thing. The outboard piece of gear I do have is a little bit more flexible. So the bus compressor that comes into this guy it's from the SSL, the 4000 G series console. The bus compressor is a fixed ratio 4:1. It's got a 30 millisecond attack time, 100 millisecond release time. It's the famous setting that you hear on a lot of records. So if you wanted to do like a 2:1 or an 8:1 or something, you might want to go outboard and get something else. But that 4:1, it sounds great. It really does. So I do have a little cons. It's not all fun and games. So my first con is that the console itself gets warm on you, like really warm. It makes sense for what it's doing and whatnot, but it does get warm on you. That's something to keep in mind. Another con that I do have is the size of it, desk space. So it is the Big Six. So if you have the smaller 6, this will take up more room. I've seen a couple videos of people complaining about the size. It does say big in the name, so I don't know what that's about, but it is big. So make sure that you do have enough desk room, because desk room will be at a premium when you do have this. Another con is that it's got a learning curve. It's got a real learning curve. I played with this about 3-4 days now, and I really feel comfortable with it now, but in the beginning, head scratcher moments, I'm telling you. I watched the video from Mitch Gallagher and Sweetwater like a ton of times before this. And the one from Vintage King, I just kept watching them and watching them. So, gave you my cons. There are some notable pros on this thing. The first being, I mean, it's kind of self-explanatory. The sound of this just blows every other interface I've had out of the water. And I've had quite a few. I had the Motu 896 MK3 hybrid. That's probably my second favorite interface behind this one. It's a good interface. If you can't quite spend the money on this one, you might want to get some of the Motu stuff, especially their newer stuff. Sounds good. I've had the Inbox before, obviously the UAD. I had the Digi 01, if you remember that. Oddly enough, that was one of my favorite interfaces too. But as far as sound quality, I haven't had anything that comes even close to this. Another pro that I really like about this, it is super flexible. It is, the routing in this is like a real console. This is a tiny console on your desk. And the more that you work with it, the more that becomes apparent. And I love that. This integrated well with Ableton, Studio One, and Pro Tools. I haven't tried Logic, but I'm sure Logic wouldn't be a problem. So if you have this and you're wondering, because I've seen a couple videos where people were having their DAWs come out of channel 1 and 2, you do not have to do that. This is what you do. This is what I learned anyways from the manual, is that you go to channels 15 and 16, the USB, you press that in, and that's gonna be external channel 2 or external input 2. Then you go to the side here, your main monitor section, you press external input 2, and voila. And you go to your DAW, your main out, your master DAW, your master channel in your DAW, channels 15 and 16, and there you go. So everything is feeding channels 15 and 16, or in Ableton, it just says master and then it goes to channel 15 and 16. Pretty rad, actually. It's like summing everything. Actually, it is summing everything. So for me, this checks every single box that I want in a console, in a interface. So far, even the first 4 channels have compression on it, which is really cool. So if you're bringing some vocals in and you want to hit it with a slight touch of compression, you got that there. And the compressors sound really good. So who is this for? Honestly, it's for someone that's wanting to take their hardware game to the next level, especially if you're kind of in like a hybrid studio as is. I think this nails the hybrid right on the nose, to where like if you're in a home studio like I am, that's semi-professional, that's got some really nice pieces, and you want to integrate that into your production, into your mixing, this makes it as easy as a click of a button. Literally just push that thing down and you got your hardware coming through. I'm an SSL fanboy, so I'm trying to be as transparent as I can, because I know you guys really like look up to people that are truthful, and quite frankly, so do I. I've been duped a handful of times, especially early on in my production and engineer career, when I would go to Guitar Center and they would sell me things I didn't even need. Yeah, still chapped about that a little bit. So I just feel it's my duty to just be honest with you guys. Even though I did spend money on this, I think it's worth it just because of the pieces that I do have and how they work with each other. This is well needed. All right, so in this, I'm just gonna do an audio example of how I was using this and how I tend to use it in the future. I'm gonna have an overhead view also of this, as you see my pretty little hand, and just kind of how to work it. I'm not gonna go into depth and do a whole mixing video. I'll do that in another video. If that's something you want, let me know in the comments below, because this thing sounds really, really good. One thing I will note, this sounds better when you're making the track with it. When you're actually mixing the track with it. If you go into another session and you open this up, you can hear an audible difference, but then once you try to run everything through here, everything's not gonna be at an optimal level. So what you wanna do is zero everything first, then bring it up, and you can start to hear what's going on. But recording with this first and producing with this first, you get a better sense of the headroom that you are missing on other interfaces. Keep an eye on that. So that's an audio example. Hope you guys like it. As y'all know, I don't just demo rock and all that stuff. I demo actual hip hop, trap, R&B, because that's what I do. Whatever. So let's just say with this first sound that, oh, I want to show you guys something. So see here on my master, it's 15 and 16. Right here, button 15, 16. I play it, nothing comes out. 15, 16. Hit your external. Super easy. So track one, and this is what it sounds like. So let's just say this right here, I wanted to change the output to be stereo on 5 and 6 here. So that's exactly what I'm gonna do. So I'm gonna go here and we're gonna say audio from, doesn't matter, it's coming from the DAW. Oh, make sure that you have the USB button pushed in, right? So 5 and 6, USB button pushed in. I'm gonna change this to an external out, and then I'm gonna go channels 5 and 6. Now keep an eye on channel 5 and 6 here. I'm gonna turn it down and we're gonna play this like so. Can EQ it? Just like that. So easy. So now, if you have a track kind of like I do here, where everything, I think there is 32 tracks of audio in this, because it's a dope beat. That's just kind of how I get down. Just joking. Dope beat doesn't need 32 tracks. I just kind of got carried away. But anyways, if you have 32 tracks, my suggestion to you would to be, if you're going to use the Big Six, is to mix in groups, mix in subgroups. You guys know what I mean? So that way you can bust those groups out to the certain channels here, right? Another thing, I want you guys to hear this compressor because it's pretty freaking dope. So we're in, remember, external 2, that's pressed in. So we're gonna go ahead and play that track, UF8. Let's get to a part here. So I don't know if you guys heard that, but when I level matched everything and pushed the compressor a little bit harder, the bass were out of control when the compressor was not on. And then when I did turn the compressor on, it tamed everything. I know that this does have a sidechain. I'm not sure what this comes in at. I do know my sidechain here with my actual G-Comp compressor is at like 165 if I'm not mistaken. So it goes a little higher. I think this one I read somewhere it was like 60. It was pretty low, but still nonetheless, it sounded great. So let me know what you think so far. I know this is a longer video and I intended it to be, but let me know what you think. Is this something that you're probably gonna get, that you're interested in? Is there something else you might wanna know about? Let me know in the comments below. I'm gonna go ahead and throw the new Mew on the master bus channel here, which is 7 and 8, and I got them paired up here. And I'm gonna press the insert and I'm gonna hit it hard so we can hear it, all right? Yeah, so the Manly, man, that thing is dope. If you can get one, get one. As you heard, I was hitting it hard and I had to turn up. That's not how I would normally use it, but it's just good pushing that stuff sometimes. You like to hear it. So that's pretty cool because I mean, literally, if I wanted to, once again, I can bring this down here, and then just bring in the fusion, boom. So I'm not constricted to just one piece of hardware with the flock being attached. There's a lot of things that I didn't go over because I'm gonna be doing a mix on this in a completely different video. So I'll try to hit as much as I can in that. But let me know if you liked it in the comments below. Do you think it's worth it or whatnot? Personally, I do, especially paired with the UC1 and the UF8. And so with that being said, with the UC1, the UF8 and the Big Six together, I think that's a win-win combo paired with the flock also, but the Big Six on his own is just fantastic in my opinion. Actually, if you want to see what I think about the UF8 and the UC1 on their own, check this video out right there. I go into grave detail on how useful they can be. That's it for me, TBR baby. I'll check y'all in the next one. Peace.